What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got another Brawl list for you guys. This one we'll take a look at a Izzet list that's built around a Rao Storm Conduit. Rao is a 4-mana 4 loyalty Planeswalker. Whenever you cast an or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Rao deals 1 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker. So it's kind of a neat little static ability, especially when you can chain together spells. Our deck isn't really built to really take advantage of that. It's more the activated abilities here of +2 and -2 that we're looking at. So +2, you get to scry 1, which is, it's decent. I think it's actually pretty good against in a spell-based list, being able to scry, especially in a singleton brawl, because you don't want to make sure every draw is very important, and so being able to hit the right draw is great. Scrying 1, it's just okay. So I think it's pretty decent value, but it's +2, so you go up to 6, so it's definitely gives you some resiliency against a lot of creatures out there. And then the -2 though, that's really kind of the where Rao shines. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, we can copy that spell and we can choose new targets for that copy. So you're just going to play this for 4 mana. You're going to get some scry action for a turn or two, and then once you're in a good position to -2, then you're going to -2. You're going to get a ton of value off of hopefully one of your bigger spells, and kind of leverage that with some of our other planeswalkers and a couple of other creatures to kind of help you close out games. So I don't want to necessarily build too much of a controlling list, but I think Rao kind of forces you in that direction. So this is kind of what I've come up with. We're very much control late game list that's built around some heavy hitters here at our top end. So we are... Izzet has some decent interaction, but I don't really like the things like Shock, Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is not standard legal, but a Lava Coil or things like that, because they're pretty narrow, especially in a Brawl type format, because such of a variety of decks. Some of those cards don't really work very well in certain matchups, and so I think Brawl, you just want cards that are generally good, work against multiple different deck types. So what we got here is, so we're mostly blue-based, as you can kind of see. It's like all these blue spells. We'd have plenty of cheap interaction here. Opt is just kind of a nice versatile card to, draw a card, scry 1, so you can kind of fix your next draw, because in these kind of spell-based decks, being able to scry is actually pretty important. We do have some Stern Dismissal and Unsummon, because... having the shocks and things like that are nice, but those don't work against bigger creatures. Unsummon and Stern Dismissal just get like much more of a variety of creatures. Even though they go back to your opponent's hand, that still can be enough to kind of tempo your opponent, and you can set yourself up for a Rao to copy and put together a big spell, make it one of the planeswalkers down, and things like that. So we also have a Callous Dismissal here, which is nice because it amasses 1, so you get a kind of a nice little chump blocker, a little 1/1 token. Disdainful Stroke, 2 mana to counter a spell with mana cost 4 or greater. It's in Brawl, so everyone's going to be running something that this can hit. So yeah, this is just kind of a nice value play. Keep Safe, that protects our planeswalkers, because we can counterspell targets a permanent you control. We do have a couple creatures, so that's pretty nice. We can protect those as well while drawing a card at the same time, so that's pretty great. Lazotep Plating, kind of the same thing. You and the permanents you control get hexproof and on end of turn, and it amasses 1, so it makes a nice little chump blocker here. Mission Briefing is a little bit questionable. I think it's worth running here. So we are mostly blue, so having it blue and the mana cost is worth it. But also, since we're in a singleton format, there's certain cards that are going to work really, really well, but you only have one of those. And so Mission Briefing basically lets us have a second copy of that in a way. So we spend 2 mana instant speed, Surveil 2, which means we can look at the top 2 cards of our library. We can choose to leave them on top of our library, or we can put them into our graveyard. And then we get to cast an instant or sorcery card from our graveyard, and if we cast it, it goes to exile instead. So let's just basically recast something. So we still have to pay the mana, but Mission Briefing is only 2 mana, and we have lots of cheap interactive spells, so it can kind of let us get additional value off of our spells depending on the matchup. So we can even tutor up like a counter spell or things like that. So I think the versatility on this is something that makes it worth taking a look at, and not a card that sees a whole lot of play. So yeah, let's go ahead and jam 1 copy of it in here. Negate, just kind of a nice all-around card. And, you know, it's Brawl, so there's going to be plenty of planeswalkers or instants and sorceries that this thing can hit. Radical Idea, just kind of a repeatable card draw, 2-mana instant speed, draw a card, and then Jumpstart. Of course, you discard a card and then draw another card. So it's not fantastic, but we do it does give us some nice kind of a early card draw, repeatable card draw. Tail's End, another card that also is really shines in the Brawl format. Being able to counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. All three of these are totally relevant. Legendary spells means you can counter your opponent's commander, which is great. And there's always going to be planeswalkers and legendary creatures that you can hit with this as well. Throw of Possibility, so you can discard one of your cards that's not relevant in your matchup and draw 2 cards, so that's pretty nice. First planeswalker here, Mu Yanling, Sky Dancer. It's a 3-mana, 2 loyalty planeswalker. However, you can +2 to give one of your opponent's creatures -2, -0, and it loses flying until end of turn. So it kind of slows down your opponent's attack a little bit, and then you can -3 to make a 4/4 bird creature token with flying. So it gives you a nice 4/4 blocker. And then if she sticks around long enough, you can -8 to give all of your islands you control tap, draw a card. So that's pretty fantastic since we're kind of a controlling late game deck. If Mu Yanling does get to her -8, that's going to be pretty backbreaking for our opponent. Also have one copy here of one copy. We're in Brawl. Copy here of Narset, Parter of Veils. Same thing, 3 mana. However, she has 5 loyalty because we can -2 a couple times to look at the top 4 cards of our library to reveal a non-creature, non-land card and put it into our hand. The rest go to the bottom of our library. So that's pretty great since we're mostly spells based. Kind of sucks that our opponent gets to see it, but that's just the way it goes with this kind of effect. However, each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. It's also really great against certain matchups. And then we have a bunch of counter spells here. Neutralize is great because 3 mana, instant speed, counter target spell, or we can just cycle it away for 2 mana. So against if we top deck this in the late game against a kind of more creature-based deck that's already emptied their hand, and we don't expect to have to counter any kind of removal spells on our planeswalkers or something like that, we can just cycle this away and find something more relevant. Sinister Sabotage is a nice counter spell because we get the Surveil 1. Whirlwind Denial. It's another nice counter spell here, and single blue makes it a little more flexible as well. Flame Spell is just kind of a nice removal spell. It's a 3 mana to deal 4 damage to target creature, so it's a little bit worse than Lava Coil. However, you do get to play this in speed, and it does have the upside of dealing damage to your opponent's face as well, while potentially killing a creature. Risk Factor is kind of a nice one because we can jumpstart it. So 3 mana, instant speed. Target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If not, you get to draw 3 cards. So either way, you're doing 4 damage to them, or you're drawing 3 cards. And the fact that you can jumpstart this to discard like a land or something to cast this again is pretty fantastic. Because first time the party's going to take 4, they're going to be like, oh, well, you're just this control deck that hasn't really put any pressure on me. I'll just take 4. Then I get the card draw. That's fine. Just goes to your graveyard. Once you've gotten enough lands and you don't need any more lands, you can just cast this again, and by then you're probably a little bit better shape. You've got some planeswalkers down, and you're starting to force them to maybe think about card advantage being an issue for us, and they're probably just going to give you the 3 cards because otherwise their life total is going to go down because you do have some ways to deal damage to them. So either way, you're going to get some pretty nice value off this. We also have a Tibalt. Can work against any kind of life gain strategies. Obviously, the Ajani, Heliod, Linden are popular commanders as well, so Tibalt kind of shuts them down. We're also making a nice a couple of 1/1 creature tokens that can kind of defend our Tibalt or just kind of jump block in general. Another counterspell and Ionize, which counterspell and deals 2 damage to our opponent's face. So that's pretty sweet. Moving on to the 4 drops, we have Chemister's Insight, draw 2 cards, instant speed, and Jumpstart as well, so that's pretty fantastic. Drawn from Dreams as a sorcery speed. However, we get to look at the top 7 cards and choose 2 of them to put into our hand. Kefnet here is our first creature. It's a 4/5 flyer, of course. It's a zombie god. So just like all the other gods, whenever it dies or is put in exile, we can choose to put it back into our library, 3rd from the top. It has some nice upside where we can reveal the first card we draw each turn as we draw it. If we do, we can copy that card, and that copy costs 2 colorless less to cast. So we do have some nice X spells here that we're going to get to here at our top end, and so Kefnet works really, really well against them. Just having a 4 mana 4/5 flyer can be kind of a nice beat stick on its own, since we're pretty light on creatures, and the fact that this is a god, so just you can't really kill it or exile it. Works pretty well for us since we're not really relying too much on creatures. So which means that the problem when you don't have a lot of creatures out, your creatures become like magnets for removal. And so having something like Kefnet that is hard to get rid of permanently is fantastic. So we do struggle a little bit against kind of a go wide strategy. So we have Storm's Wrath. I think this Flame Sweep type effects are just too narrow, doing 2 damage. This isn't really enough, doesn't hit enough things. So I personally don't think those cards are really worth running in Brawl. They can hit certain decks reasonably well, but I just don't think they do enough. So just 1 copy here of Storm's Wrath, and then that's why we have all those kind of bounce effects just to kind of slow down our opponent. But otherwise, our only Wrath effect is Storm's Wrath. So doing 4 damage to each creature and each Planeswalker. So obviously, if you do have this in your hand and you have one of your, say your 3-drop Planeswalkers, you kind of have to figure out how you want to sequence that. But otherwise, yeah, Storm's Wrath is a nice way to kind of clean up the board. Also have another creature here in Voracious Great Shark. So unlike Kefnet, this doesn't have much protection, but it is a 5/4 for 5. We can play this in at flash speed. So if your opponent taps out to play a creature or something like that, you can flash this in, counter that creature spell or artifact spell for that matter, and then have a nice 5/4 creature that you can swing with on the following turn. So it's a nice big body that can also act as a counter spell. So I think it's definitely worth running in this list. Sarkhan here, since we are running on a decent number of Planeswalkers, Sarkhan works pretty fantastic. 5 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. +1 to make all of your Planeswalkers into 4/4 dragon creature tokens with flying, or -3 to make a 4/4 dragon creature token with flying. And then, of course, the static ability, when a creature attacks you or a Planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. The only dragon we're going to have is the -3 4/4 dragon creature token, so that's just 1 point of damage usually, and assuming they don't have removal for it. So the static ability isn't too relevant, but in certain situations it could be. But just being like a 4/4 token and then turn your Planeswalkers into 4/4s is pretty fantastic. It's going to help you close out a lot of games. And here's a kind of a forgotten Planeswalker here, Rao Izzet Viceroy. 5 mana for 5 loyalty Planeswalker. You can +1 to look at the top 2 cards of your library, 1 into your hand, the other goes to your graveyard. Then you can -3 to deal damage to target creature equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. So that's nice for like a jumpstart. Obviously, once you've jumpstarted it again, it goes to exile. And we're going to be casting lots of spells like Opt and things like that, filling up our graveyard with instant and sorceries. So yeah, Rao can definitely deal a lot of damage to creatures. If this is Planeswalkers, I think this would be amazing. But just being able to hit creatures is still pretty decent value. But this -8 is pretty much game ending. Like, not on the spot, but there's just kind of an inevitability here. Because you can emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target, and you draw 2 cards. Like, that's just amazing. And then it starts at 5 loyalty, and so it doesn't take too long to get to that -8. Yeah, it's just fantastic value if you can stick it around. Chandra here is another amazing Planeswalker here. 6 mana, 6 loyalty. Can't be countered. +2, give your opponent an emblem that deals 1 damage to them on their upkeep. You can -3 to deal 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. So it's kind of a nice little board wipe there, since we're a little bit light on that. So 3 and 4 damage is pretty reasonable for a board wipe. So between Chandra and Storm's Wrath, we have a little bit of game against those kind of go-wide strategies. And you can -X to deal X damage to target creature or Planeswalker. And if a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. So Chandra is just an amazing card here. Niv-Mizzet is our last creature here. It's 3 blue, 3 red for a 5/5 legendary dragon wizard. Flying, can't be countered. Whenever you draw a card, Niv-Mizzet deals 1 damage to any target, and whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. So just the fact that it's any player, and we're playing a bunch of instant sorceries, even if your opponent goes to remove this, you're at least going to get a card draw off of it, and when you draw a card, you do 1 damage to any target, so you can kind of ping down your opponent. Obviously, the big weakness here is like white enchantment removal, but other than that, you're going to get some value off of Niv-Mizzet, even if they remove it. And here we are in our big X spells. So first off, we got Perverse's Intervention. X red, sorcery. We can choose to make an X1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste to get sacrificed on our end step, or we can deal twice X damage to our creature or planeswalker. So this is amazing having this flexibility here because we are pretty light on creatures, and the fact that this can make an X1 with haste and trample means we can kind of, out of nowhere, we can just kind of swing for a bunch of damage. Especially if we have our Row out, we can copy it and make 2 of these, and that's pretty sweet. Or we can just, in the kind of earlier turns, we can just deal, twice X damage to a creature or planeswalker to just remove something. So that's pretty reasonable value right there. And Thessa's Intervention is kind of nice because we do, while we do have a lot of counter spells, this gives us another counter spell or a card draw. Because we look at the top X cards of a library, put up to 2 of them into our hand, and the rest on the bottom of our library in a random order. Or we can counter target spell unless the controller pays twice X. So yeah, just having that flexibility, this is kind of everything that we're trying to do here. And we also have Electro Dominance. It's X red red. Instant speed, deal X damage to any target, which is nice. You can cast a spell with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, kind of the dream scenario would be to Electro Dominance for, say 5, and then play like a Ral, is it Viceroy? Maybe 6. X equals 6, and you can play a Niv-Mizzet. Things like that. Or maybe like a card draw spell. So so it doesn't have as much upside as you would like to, but there's still lots of cool things you can do with Electro Dominance. And just being able to deal any target, I think, makes it worth taking a look at. Because you do need ways to deal with planeswalkers as well. Let's have an Expansion Explosion. Both sides of this are fantastic. Being able to copy an instant or sorcery spell with mana cost 4 or less. So if we need to copy one of our own spells, we can do that. If we need to, if our opponent has a counter spell, we can use Expansion as like a way to copy their counter spell and then use that to counter their counter spell. I know I said counter spell way too many times there, but I think you get the idea. And then once the game goes late, you can have the explosion side for X, and then blue blue red red to do X damage to any target, and then target player draws X cards. So we do have some decent card draw engines, but explosion is just another fantastic way for us to kind of refill our hand while doing damage at the same time. Final here we have Mass Manipulation. So we are pretty light on creatures. We do have plenty of planeswalkers. We have ways to counter our opponent's planeswalkers, ways to kill our opponent's creatures, but most of our creature interaction is kind of more tempo based, trying to bounce back to their hand. So Mass Manipulation gives us a nice tool where we can pay a lot of mana. It is expensive, but we are kind of a controlling late game deck, so we should be able to get there. And then pay XX and 4 blue to gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. So what this means is you pay, so you're paying 4 blue and then XX. So if you pay 6 mana total, you get control of 1 creature or planeswalker. So yeah, it is pretty steep, but it definitely has a ton of upside, and we can definitely get to a point where we can cast this for 1, 2, 3 even. And yeah, just kind of get our opponent's best creatures and use those to kind of win the game. So we can kill them with our own stuff. So go to the mana base here. We have the Castle Vantress, 8 islands, 1 Mystic Sanctuary. Enters the battlefield tapped unless we control 3 or more other islands. However, when it enters the battlefield untapped, we can put an instant or sorcery card from our graveyard back on top of our library. Obviously, we're a very spell-based deck, so this has a ton of upside here. 6 mountains. And then we have all the dual lands, Izzet Guildgate, Steam Vents, Swiftwater Cliffs, Temple of Epiphany, Command Tower, Fabled Passage for the fixing. We have some pretty intense mana cost. Mass Manipulation, which of course is 4 blue, Niv-Mizzet, which is 3 blue, 3 red, so we definitely need some additional fixing. And then we have a couple colorless lands here, but I think they're still worth running here. 1 Field of Ruin, taps for colorless, or we can pay 2, sacrifice it, destroy a non-basic land on our opponent's side. Then each player gets to search for a basic land, so it replaces itself and gives us a little bit of fixing, while also destroying one of their lands, like one of their castles or something like that. And then Labyrinth of Scophos, since we are a little bit light on really good creature removal, Labyrinth of Scophos gives us a way to kind of remove target attacking or blocking creature from combat. So if you want to use this defensively, you could, but probably not going to be too relevant. It's mostly just to take your opponent's creatures out of combat, so they're not going to be doing damage to us or our planeswalkers. Alright, so that's how this deck lines up, and we'll jump into some matches and see how we do. Alright, up against Kudro. General Kudro. Wow, double mountain and a bunch of blue spells. Alright, seems pretty reasonable. Let's start with our Scry Temple. Yeah, we need something to deal with our creatures, so Unsummon is fine. It'll always slow them down a little bit. Obviously, General Kudro has an ETB effect, but we're not overly concerned about that. Yeah, just drop Island and there you go. So we have Opt Unsummon open here, followed by Ionize next turn. Alright, let's Opt first, and then we'll just bounce that. Niv-Mizzet's pretty good. But probably not amazing against them, and especially here we just need more lands, so I think we're just going to have to bottom that. Mystic Sanctuary. We're a long way from getting value off of that, but we do want to hold open Ionize, so I think we just go ahead and play out the Mountain to have Ionize mana open up. Timuret. Yeah. I mean, I think we just want to counter something here. Guildgate. I mean, I guess if we start drawing into some islands, the Sanctuary could be good. We still need 2 more. But I think we'll just go ahead and drop our tap land for now. Okay, so they do get a Daxos. We have a little bit of graveyard interaction, but not too much. So we can kill Daxos here with Electro Dominance, and then do nothing with the mana. That feels pretty medium. Which is Sanctuary, since we're still a ways away from being able to get that value. So we still have Dominance for 2, and maybe Disdainful Stroke. We'll see what they do here. Scry. Obviously, Disdainful Stroke does not work against General Kudro, but they go Erebos. Wow, that is amazing. So 2 damage. Auto pay. Disdainful Stroke. Whew. That's just the way we drew it up. Okay, risk factor. It's not doing much, so let's go ahead and Row. And we have Lazotep Plating to protect Row. And we'll just scry here. We have plenty of lands, so we're just looking for something else. Vantress is nice, but yeah, we just want some spells here. I mean, risk factor is nice, but doesn't really do much if they drop a bunch of creatures here. Alright, Omen can get back any creature. Erebos, Daxos, they go for Daxos. Okay, Daxos, and they still have mana open to General Kudro. Down comes General Kudro, they can exile something. So it kind of makes our risk factor pretty medium. There's a Tails End. That would have been nice to have earlier. We can -2, put Rao at 4, but then they have 4 power on the board. You kill Rao, double our risk factor. That doesn't seem good enough here. So let's just scry. Is it Viceroy? That seems pretty good. Again, General Kudro makes things pretty awkward because we do have some graveyard synergy as far as our instant sorceries. Although I guess Ral does not care if that's Elspeth, Undaunted Hero. That's cute. Yeah, let's go ahead and counter that. And they can swing 5 at Ral. They're going after our commander? Okay. It doesn't really seem worth it to me, but I guess they're afraid of our value. Wow, they don't want to take 4? That's pretty cool. Okay, so here Denial, and then we have 2 mana open to Callous Dismissal. So we can bounce both. We have to exile our graveyard.
Every problem has a solution.
Or we can minus on one of these and Callous Dismissal the other one. There it is, 7 damage. Yeah, let's go ahead and bounce. Destroy the Kudro, I guess.
Thanks.
Maybe we should have done that the other way around. That's fine. Well, plus, we'll scry first. Let's see, what? Another land. No, just looking for more spells here. Ways to interact. So at least keep their board empty, that's fine. We do have a chump blocker, and we can get some card selection here with Rao and the scry with our other Rao. Okay, Sanctuary Lockdown on empty board. Daxos comes down. So Kudro costs 5 now, we're happy about that. Narset. Narset is decent. Let's go ahead and plus.
Oh, come on. What a peek.
Yeah, Sarkon's pretty good. We'll scry.
It all built up to this.
Negate. What? I mean, Orzhov, you're going to have plenty of removal. I guess we keep it. So we'll go ahead and make a 4/4 and just hold up Lazotep Plating. So maybe Negate should have been scryed away. Okay, gotta exile something, cool. And a little bit of life back thanks to Daxos. And Gideon. Oh, that's pretty good. Would be nice to have a Negate to deal with that. Some great synergy there. So down goes Risk Factor. We're going to give it lifelink. Okay. It's going to take 1 from the dragon, and then we have 5 power to block and kill it. So I'm not sure they took that into consideration. Yeah, best turn. Okay, what's the Rao? +1. Yeah, that can get rid of our deal with the Gideon. Not get rid of, but deal with Gideon. It does cost 4, though. Let's go and scry.
I wonder what the weather's like on it.
Expansion Explosion. So we're at 7 mana, so we can do X3. Thanks to the lockdown. I think we still keep it though. +1. And let's actually take out Gideon and then hit for 8. Alright, so now we can use the Labyrinth to remove Kudro from combat, and then we have the Lazotep Plating and Negate to protect our Planeswalkers, and our opponent is running on empty here, so we're in a decent spot, I would say. We do have the Castle Lochthwain in place. That's a nice card draw. The Castle Arnvale can make tokens, but we have flying, so we're not too worried about that. Okay, we'll just Labyrinth to remove that from combat. So we could Could use Ral to copy this expansion, explosion I should say, for 3. So we draw 6 and then potentially pick off Kudro. Let's see, it doesn't seem worth it because we're swinging, let's see, we're swinging for 16 here. So yeah, I think we've got it. Okay, they show us Aid the Fallen and Concede. So we had 16 power on board, so 1 short of lethal for their knowledge. But yeah, we had the expansion explosion to finish them by Ruda. It's interesting. A couple of tap lands, but some nice spells in hand. So yeah, I think we'll keep it. We'll just start with Guildgate, and then we'll Temple next turn. A little better idea of what we want to scry for. I don't think we'll be negating anything here, so yeah, just Temple. Intervention seems okay, so yeah, go ahead and keep that. So a bunch of counter spells open starting next turn. If this were standard, they would just have a thought erasure here, guaranteed. Okay, Omen of the Sea. So now we have some nice counters open. Pretty slow start from our opponent, but that's going to have to be expected from this style deck. I guess Ionize. Chandra's pretty sweet. So here we have Negate, Intervention, and Insight open. I don't think there's any reason to run out Kefnet just yet. Sure. They're going to mill themselves, I assume. It doesn't really work amazing with Gyruda, but okay. They have some other graveyard synergies. I'll just fire off this Chemisters. A couple more lands. Okay, they're still a couple turns away from Gyruda. I think we'll go ahead and drop Kefnet now. If they're going to be doing it kind of slow. Wow, Unexplained Disappearance. Sure. So next one is we just Kefnet, hold up in Tails End, Negate. Shocking. 5 mana open to play Ob Nixilis. Okay.
We meet in battle. Try not to think too hard.
So we do have some card draw, but it's not anything like super impactful. So Ob Nixilis is kind of annoying, but it's not anything too crazy. We could Tails End the Ob Nixilis, but I think I'd rather just counter the Gyruda, although they're stuck on lands. Yeah, I think that's worth negating. Don't want them to have some pretty nasty cards in their graveyard. Doom Whisper, sure.
One can learn much.
I'll draw 2 cards. I think it's worth keeping it.
I am your inner demon. Knowledge is not without price.
All right, let's go ahead and rouse so we can leave 2 mana open to counter
Welcome to try.
Gyruda.
Be accompanied by a parent or guardian to ride the light.
Thrill. We could discard the Field of Ruin, I guess. It's pretty medium though. They do have a Labyrinth of their own. We could try to blow up with this Field of Ruin. And Ob Nixilis will punish us, so I think we just bottom it. So now we can get our Kefnet next turn. I think that's a little bit better. Be kind of nice if they draw land, just so we could fire this Tail's End off, but We'll see.
Suffer the dreams of the dark.
Okay. I guess we just run out. We do have mana to Chandra and have Tail's End open. They're sitting on 5 mana and they're Demirless, so they might just have a way to. I think we want to get rid of this Obnixilis. And hopefully we can survive. Untap with Chandra and get at least 1 emblem on them.
What's not to love? I'm brilliant,
I mean,
handsome,
Opt is
and
okay,
totally electrifying.
but I think we'll just dig for something else. So now we'll just hold open Tail's End on their Gyruda still. Top, bottom, sure. Alright. So the Obnixilis wasn't too impactful, but it was pretty annoying. Counter this, goes back to their command zone, we ping them for 1. Alright, they pack it in. Alright, up against Watley, Sun's Heart. It's interesting, I just made this list. Yeah, Temple into Island into Castle Vantress. Seems okay. Healer's Hawk. So pretty fast start from our opponent. Just looking for lands here. Sure, we'll take a tap land. Obviously we'll need 2 red for Sarkhan and Dominance at some point. Yeah, just drop the Swiftwater Cliffs, no reason to do anything else. We can Tibalt next turn, now we shut down their life gain, but then they can just swing in the air for Tibalt. So now the Dryad is going to do some damage with a Watley down. So we might just want to hold up an intervention to counter the Watley. Seems the safer bet. Bridemate. Okay, so we need a Storm's Wrath here. Wait, we cannot do that. Alright, Opt. That can counter Watley. So I need a Storm's Wrath here, pretty bad. Alright, we'll pick off the Healer's Hawk. And we'll Tail's End on the Watley. Get the Interplanar Beacon life gain and counter on the Pridemate. So we're gonna need a Storm's Wrath here ASAP. Just 3 spells in our graveyard. I think we Sarkhan, make a 4/4.
We begin. Come to me.
And they can Watley here pretty easily thanks to her being so cheap. So definitely not my build with the Pridemate and the Dryad. Conclave Tribunal on Sarkhan. Okay.
There is no peace in defeat.
we just need a Ral, and hopefully we can find the Storm's Wrath.
Yeah, choose wisely, because the other one's going bye-bye.
Island, I guess. No attacks. Hopefully we can kind of hold them at bay a little bit longer here. So Watley comes down. And gain some life. Grow their Pride Mate. I guess we'll block there just to kill it. So here's our dragon. They still have a 5/5 Pride Mate. And gain a bunch of life. Grow their dude. So yeah, just +1 here. Yeah, Thrill. Or excuse me, Radical Idea. So hopefully they don't have a way to deal with Tibalt. I think we'll just go ahead and fire off Ral, Storm Conduit, Scry. Need a way to bounce that Pride Mate. Alright, so we want to keep our Tibalt alive here. Arcane Signet. Not worried about that. So go ahead and block the Pride Mate. I think we'll go ahead and deal damage to the Watley.
You accomplish nothing.
Archon of Falling Stars. That's an interesting one. I mean, it's going to die to the flyer, so we'll go ahead and make a 1/1 so we can block the Pride Mate. Cancel. Let's Ral Viceroy first. Sabotage doesn't do much. Niv-Mizzet is pretty fantastic though. So in that case, we'll scry.
When a storm sea washes the dead
That's what we need right there.
and not my fault.
So we have blockers now. As long as I don't have removal, we can block each of these. So we're in a okay spot. Life totals would indicate otherwise, but there's definitely a reasonable opportunity here to pull ahead. Wow, they don't have a way to deal with Tibalt, so they back it in. Alright, I guess it's as good a place as any to stop right there. So yeah, so Tibalt seems like it's kind of a medium option, but man, it's put in some work against some of these decks. Any life gain based deck is gonna hate something like a Tibalt, and then once you get your other planeswalkers down, you can kind of keep them alive with bounce effects, creature tokens, things like that. You can just get a ton of value and just kind of pull away, even if your opponent gets off to a pretty nice start like we saw there. Yeah, so we have a nice kind of a range of options with the counter spells. We can kind of hold our own against other kind of mid-range control style builds, and certainly some nice tempo and burn plays to kind of deal with any creature-based matchups as well. And Ral just being able to copy those spells just gives us a ton of value as well. And yeah, we'll have to do a survive till late game, and then once we get our planeswalkers out, we can just take over from there. So not the biggest fan of control, but you know, it's fun to play sometimes. And Ral is just kind of one of those interesting cards that doesn't really see a whole lot of play in general, or even in Brawl especially. So I was like, okay, let's build something around it. And you know, Chandra 6 and Niv-Mizzet are pretty powerful late game options. And Ral Izzet Viceroy, 5-mana spell. I've gotten tons of value off of that in previous standard seasons, especially if you do get to the ultimate. It's just insane value. And yeah, just kind of it's kind of fun being able to just kind of choose when to hold up counter magic sometimes, and when to actually play out spells, you know, your planeswalkers or creatures and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of fun to think about it, because we do have plenty of counter spells. We're not totally just like a Teferi deck that's like super oppressive. You know, you can still answer our counter spells and play around them and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of a fun little different little style than what we're seeing here on the channel, but definitely fun to mix it up. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, take care.